the mighty turn. So, I and my wife were together for 16 years and have been through quite the roller coaster. We've always been best friends through every issue we've had, even when the relationship wasn't working or we'd break up to be with someone else or whatever. We always were there for each other as friends no matter what happened. Our friendship has been amazing up until these last 6 months. We've had an open marriage and have been going out to the same bar for about 2 years now every weekend to dance and hang out. Well, in May of this year we were open and I met some girl at that bar from Charlotte who I immediately connected with and was amazing. She actually ended up coming back to my town and staying in an Airbnb to see if the connection and feelings were real. It was exciting, fresh and amazing, something I haven't felt physically or emotionally with my wife in 10 plus years. After 2 months we ended things and my wife had slept with another guy during the time I was with my girl at the time. During all this she met a black guy who was a bouncer from the bar we go to about around the same time I met the girl I was with, and they were just talking as friends. Well, in July to around mid-September she moved back in for about a month to see if she could catch feelings and fall back in love. Well, she didn't, and she said she needed time and space, and that's when I found out space was her going to this bouncer's house and staying with him and sleeping with him. She lied to me for a few days about who he was, then I found out cause I know the guy as well, and ever since this past week she's been living with him. She even got on birth control so they could have unprotected affair, and she's telling me how her feelings for this guy are amazing and the bonding is better than we ever had, and that she really likes this guy and could even see herself marrying him someday, that they're goofy and have fun together all the time and are the same person. We are separated right now and in the process of divorcing because in SC you have to be separated for a year to divorce. I am hurt so bad because I know the relationship we've had has been toxic and this needs to end right now, but I am scared to lose our friendship forever and be in each other's lives as friends as we've always been, and she says she wants the same, but I just can't get past this guy and how she moved on so quick, even though she says she's been checked out mentally for 8 to 10 months now. I still love her, I want her back, but I don't know what to do. Should I try to be here as a friend and let her do her own thing and let her make the mistakes with this rebound and regret? I know she will regret all this, and all this fresh, exciting new enjoyment she is getting will end, because you can't go from 16 years with someone and immediately after knowing someone for only 4 to 5 months and just recently talking more than friends and sleeping together. It just doesn't seem realistic and seems like a rebound. We care about each other as friends and love each other as friends. She's not in love with me anymore, but I know this marriage is doomed because of how tainted and toxic it is. I just hope that someday in the future I can change to be a better person and become that person she always wanted me to be, and maybe she will see that and give me a second chance at a completely clean slate. We were working on the marriage for about a month and were living together again, but then all of a sudden this guy she met as a friend from the bar, they were texting nonstop for 4 months, and now she's all into her feelings with him, saying how amazing the bonding is and how her feelings are just different with this guy, which blows my mind, cause if it's so much better, why did we last 16 years? How many partners I had? 2 girls, and that was when we were broken up years ago, and then one with the Charlotte girl. She had slept with 3 guys even when I was with the Charlotte girl. She was seeing another dude she met 2 weeks before I met the Charlotte girl. I failed to mention that. She was the one that always went and did the things with the openness. I never truly did it until May with Charlotte. She just told me after trying again beginning of this month one day she needed space to see if she misses me, and that space was me finding out she's sleeping with a guy from the bar we all go to who bounces, and now apparently she has deep feeling for him according to her, and her feelings are different than it ever was with us, and she's basically already moved in with this guy. She stays at his house every day and goes to his work on weekends and hangs out till he gets off at 4 a.m. The one thing we did have in 16 years, even if the marriage was tainted, is we always were each other's best friend, and I guess I don't want to lose our friendship. I still love her, but she made it clear she is not in love with me because she's not in love with this version of me anymore. She likes this new guy, she's with him all the time, but she also tells me that I keep pushing her away, but talking about him all the time with her and questioning her if she is staying the night with him or going drinking with him, and she said it just pushes her away more. She said today if she actually saw changes in me it might make her have feelings again, but she said I haven't changed in 16 years, so until she sees it and when that time comes, she said she would reevaluate the situation. She still is trying to be my friend over all this. She's like, you can't handle being my friends right now, so the only thing we can do is not talk at all or communicate. She's like, until you can learn to be my friend again right now it's too hard for you. Those were her words last night during a 45-minute phone call. I know she cares about me and loves me, she's just not in love with me, and that's the part I'm struggling with. She always did everything for me, always, and now I feel like I lost my best friend. Our marriage wasn't great, I get it, but also, we had amazing times. It's just the whole not being physically attracted to each other and not enjoying it for me was what made me start wandering, because that's as important to me. Live and learn, I guess. Now I just got to figure out how I can win her back from this guy, and she keeps telling me to change my ways and she might give us a chance again. My comment: honestly, complete the divorce and forget her. She's not your best friend anymore and will never be again. Get your own self together and be done with her. Stop mooning over the past. It's not going to ever be like that with her again. She picked him over you. yet you just don't want to get it. So, you're making yourself a chump. It's obvious that you have no compass of direction as an individual, and as a man, basically you lack self-respect. You are ridiculously on the hopium bandwagon of the pick-me dance. What does that show you? If not that you are a man that has no self-respect and is willing to take a woman that is with another man. I guess that you are willing to take sloppy seconds. She's playing you, dude. She just won't wreck your hopes all at once, because, although she is right now content with her new man, the relationship is still too new for her and she has you on hold as a possible plan B in the eventually her new man doesn't pan out. Just remember this, even if her relationship with the other man doesn't pan out, in the end she might end up with another dude, while you're idiotically waiting for her. Story 2. I'm considering a divorce but have not been able to pull the trigger quite yet. In Canada, you can be granted a divorce based on the following grounds. Separated for a year. One of you committed adultery. Your spouse has inflicted physical and mental harm to you. So, my only option right now is 1 year separation. Cleanest way to do it is to live separately. I've looked into apartments many times and at this moment I'd love nothing more to move out, but financially it's not realistic for me. I'm still in the home loan, so would be responsible for contributing to that plus rent and utilities in an apartment, which I cannot afford. We can be separated but live under the same roof, but it's just trickier and certain conditions must be met. I hate the idea of being stuck here for a year, but it's probably the smartest option so I can focus on trying to save some money. I'm thinking of meeting with a lawyer to discuss it so I make sure I meet all conditions and the court will agree that we are separated. Next is the financial difficulties I will face. As of today, I have $500 to my name. We have no savings, no retirement, and while we do own our home, I don't want anything to do with it and am basically prepared to agree to let my husband decide about what happens with the house as long as I don't get screwed or left on the hook in the end. I don't want it and I can't afford it on my own anyway. I have been toying with the idea for about 6 months, but within the past 2 weeks I've gotten very serious about it. Last week I told my husband I wanted a divorce and I meant it, but then a few days later I told him I loved him and wanted to stay married. I don't know why I went back on what I said. I'm scared. I can't make up my mind. He's the only person I really have and don't want to lose him, but at the same time he's a horrible husband for me and I'm probably not what he wants for a wife either. I don't know why I'm posting this, but I have nobody in real life to talk to about it. I'm hoping if I just start talking about it like I'm really going to do it that I will finally make a move and take some action. If anyone in Canadian has any experience with separation and divorce, any tips to share, please let me know. I'm also coming to realize that I think there may be a very physical person inside me that's just never found a man who turned her on or could satisfy her. I'm desperate to find a guy who I'm physically attracted to and who I love sleeping with. The more I think about it, the needier I get. When you're contemplating cheating your spouse because you're so horny and want to experience what enjoyable bonding actually feels like, it's time to cut and run. Bonding is not the top priority. I have a list of wants and needs in a man, but everything on the list equals what actually turns me on. I'm talking about so much more than physical characteristics. I simply don't think my husband will ever be that man for me. It'd be asking for him to change into a totally different person. He does not have the qualities that I want and need in a man, especially a husband and father of my future children. I don't say that to fault him, it's just the truth. I don't think I possess the qualities that he wants in a wife either. There is nothing wrong with not wanting children and being happy with that decision. I do not believe that everybody wants kids and that those who say they don't are really in denial and will either change their mind one day or regret their decision to not have them. No, some people are truly happier without kids. My husband and I always talked about our future children earlier in our relationship. It was sort of a given we planned to have some. Then we've just had a lot of struggles, both to do with our relationship and then just related to other life things. We both never felt that it was the right time, that we were ready, that we could afford it, that it was a good idea at all. It's not a matter of me saying I didn't want kids and now changing my mind. I just realized a few years ago that my husband wasn't what I imagined as the type of father I wanted for my kids. I also couldn't imagine having a kid around our shared dysfunction either. So, I tried to convince myself that I was okay not having children and that I wouldn't be a good mom anyway. I'd probably just be better off if I avoided it, since I knew as long as I was married to my husband it wasn't a good idea. And I kept telling myself that until finally I couldn't lie to myself any longer. My current husband and I will never afford exotic luxury items and fancy vacation. So even without kids we won't be doing those things. My next husband must be financially stable and responsible with money. He pays all of our bills out of his account. He sees him as paying the mortgage even though I send him half of every one of my paychecks to go towards our bills. The house is in both of our names. I didn't think of selling the house before a divorce. That'd be much easier on one hand, but he'll have to agree to it, of course. My current job takes up so much of my time, including nights and weekends, that I don't know how I'd work another one. I'll have to leave my primary job first and find 2 new jobs. I am working on maybe finding another job soon, but I probably won't make much more. I just want more time to myself to get stuff done in my life, and this job pays me less than $40,000 and had me running all over the city and working wacky schedules and taking up a lot of my free time. Also need to be able to keep all my pets. It's my 2 goats I'm most worried about because they are goats and need their outside area. Nothing bad will happen to the goats. I'm wondering if I could pay to bear the goats on a property much like horses are boarded at stables. Probably not. I mean, I'd hate to do that, but if I needed just a temporary place for them. I'd live in a mobile home though if it meant having a large property where I could keep the goats with me. Man, child is it. Made me cry before work for yelling at me about something stupid. I was standing in a doorway. Then I didn't get home until after 9 p.m. I had to feed all pets, change everybody's water, and make myself dinner while he just sat on the sofa the whole time playing games. I'm not asking him to wait on me, but if your spouse is working late, is it too much to do a few of your shared household tasks so they don't have to get home at 9 and do everything themselves before dropping into bed? He also made a mess with something he was working on. Asked him what he was going to do about the mess and he goes, "Don't be a bee." Well, there's paint thinner all over this box outside and it's a mess, so I was just asking. So, I went to bed crying too, since he was a selfish, mean person during the evening as well. Then he got mad at me for crying. I found a lawyer who will give me a free consultation at least. All I can afford right now. They also have some free legal advice services here, so I will probably contact them as well. It's mainly the finances that are holding me back at this point, I think. Once I can figure out what to do there, then I'll feel a lot better about moving forward. I have to not fly by the seat of my pants and come up with an actual plan regarding how to get out of this mess money-wise. Seems like maybe he's detaching already himself. There was definitely a very different feeling in the air this morning while we were getting ready for work. No words spoken until I reminded him that I'll be home late. He said he has plans with friends from work and will be home late. That was that. Don't think he would have even told me at all if I hadn't said I was going to be late. I'm feeling pretty sad today. A year will be rough. I feel like it'll make it so hard to actually stick to the divorce plan. I feel like I'll continue to flip-flop. It'd be much easier to stick to my decision if I had my own place. I have to accept that unless we sell the house, getting my own place will just not be possible right now. It'll be much smarter to stay here and get another job and save money if at all possible. At least if I have 2 jobs, it'll keep me outside of the house. Well, there is nothing besides our house for my husband and I to get from this divorce. Getting a job that pays just a bit more isn't going to take anything away from me as far as what gets distributed. There is absolutely nothing to distribute. Even if I managed to save any money, it'd probably only end up being a few $1,000s. I have less than $500 to my name now, so having a few thousand saved would be great in comparison. So, if the court wants to count a few $1,000s against me and make me give half of it to my husband, then whatever. We're not talking a sizable amount of money here at all. The truth is, I also almost certainly won't be getting a second job either. My first job alone is about to give me a mental breakdown. If I manage to find a new job, it won't pay much better than what I'm making now. I'm just trying to be honest with myself now. I can't rent a room. I have quite a few pets, plus the thought of renting a room sounds like absolute torture. I'm starting to think I'll just stay married and find a way to put up with it if it's between staying married and having to rent a room for a year plus being stuck in limbo for that long. I think being realistic about what I think I can actually handle right now mentally and financially, I will have to remain living in our home, not make any major career moves, not that I could since I don't have any sort of qualifications for something with a dramatically higher rate of pay, and spend the time working on things like my health and fitness, my mental health, planning for what career field is like to move into and figuring out what I need to do to get there. If we can just agree to sell the house at that point and split profits, since I know we will both need the cash, then it might all be okay. I'll be in limbo for a year, but I can still work on a lot of things that I need to fix. I am a mess. I'd try to describe just how much, but it's be too embarrassing. I'm having trouble functioning in life and staying afloat mentally. That won't just resolve if I get divorced. I need to start addressing those problems now so I can be in a healthier place, some place where I actually have motivation, where I don't struggle to just get out of bed each day. I have 9 pets. Yes, finances need a lot of work. I don't think that I'm really bad with money management, but my husband is. We've been sharing finances and bills almost since we were first together. We've lived together most of our relationship. Money has always been a big problem between us because I believe in saving and he believes in spending. He always makes me feel bad or controlling for wanting to save, for telling him not to buy something costly that he wants. He gets money and it's like he has to spend it. It's my fault for putting up with it for so long, for marrying him even though I was well aware what he was like with money. I prefer to be careful with my money and I don't make big purchases unless it's something necessary. I bought my current car when I absolutely had to, when my old car got at the point where it was needing repairs every single month, which just became a money pit. I bought a very inexpensive but newer car that would be more reliable. My husband bought a car that was almost 3 times the cost of mine. I make less than 40 a year and this is the most I've ever made at any job ever. I've been working since I was in college. I'm not lazy and I'm actually an excellent employee. I just got a useless college degree, fell into a low-paying job field, and then sold myself short and basically fell victim to believing that this was the best I'd ever do. My husband is also now making the most he's ever made, which is more than me but not too much more. We've both had a string of not very well-paying jobs. I don't blame anyone for that but us. We both got useless college degrees. We are both messes with mental problems. He was also unemployed for several years, so it was just me supporting us, which really set us back. Yep, we cannot afford a child right now. I've always known that we couldn't afford it and that it's totally inappropriate to have a kid on purpose when you aren't financially stable. It's one of the reasons that I've intentionally avoided having one with him. I don't think a man with the qualities I'm looking for will be interested in me for a plethora of reasons, including what a loser I am as far as my job and my complete lack of any finances. Probably another reason I'm still here. Right now, I feel that I'll remain married, continue to try to convince myself that I like my husband more than I do, remain childless, and be unhappy forever. It will be my fault, nobody else's. Feeling pretty hopeless about it all at the moment. Sometimes I feel sure that I can and will follow through with leaving, but then I just get so overwhelmed. I admit, knowing me, that there's a very good chance I could end up remaining married and miserable. I just don't have faith in myself. My confidence is virtually non-existent these days. I am already overwhelmed by life at the moment, which is why I'm just not sure I have what it takes to actually leave right now. I thought I did a few days ago, but then when reality set in, it was too much. Most days I feel so overwhelmed that my chest is tight and I can barely breathe. Feel as if a panic attack will come on at any moment or a nervous breakdown. I try to tell myself just so things one day at a time. That's what I'm going to try to work on this weekend. Try to get the current things in my life in order since everything is a disaster right now. If I could just feel like I could catch up on everything that's an absolute mess right now, then I could take on something else like a divorce. Of course, my low-paying job will have me working a day this weekend, so there goes some time for myself to handle my own stuff. My husband would have a baby with me right now if I asked. He goes back and forth on actually wanting a kid, but if I initiated it, he'd say yes. He is really good with kids and he personally thinks he'd be a good dad. There's a difference between being really good with children and actually being able to be a quality parent that takes part in the day-to-day responsibilities of raising a child. He could actually surprise me here, but it's a very big risk in my opinion. I also really fear what would happen if we had a kid and I died. I don't feel he'd raise them to my standards. I really fear his anxiety and other issues getting in the way of him being actively involved in their activities. Like, you can't even go to the grocery store. How are you going to show up to your kid's school play? He would have a child with me, but he'd never initiate it. He doesn't initiate much of anything. But if I said I wanted one, he'd give me one. We've come close to doing it in the past, but I could never actually go through with it because I knew it would be a selfish and wrong decision. I'm not weighing having a kid with him now, was just saying that I can understand what open-minded is saying because I've feared the exact same thing happening to me. Perhaps if I get out of this marriage and can find a new career where I can make more money, I will decide to never be in a committed relationship with a man again and will just get impregnated by sperm I select from a sperm bank. Not as if I could probably ever afford it, but who knows, maybe one day once I figure out what I want to do with my life and can finally push myself to take the risks required to make it happen. I know that my relationship isn't my only problem. No, there's not one singular thing that's causing the problems in my life. Well, me. I am the singular thing causing myself problems. It's all of my bad decisions, indecisiveness, selling myself short, and an inability to take risks that has landed me right where I'm at today. I was voted most likely to succeed. I had potential at one time. What a joke. Well, I guess sleeping together wasn't the best way to detach today, was it? And I'm the one who initiated it too. I actually just wanted to sleep together for the last 2 weeks or so. I've actually had a physical drive, not specifically associated with him, but it's like I know what it feels like to feel uncontrollably horny for the first time in my entire life. I've been thinking very seriously about what I want in my ideal man lately, even made an actual written list. Ever since I did that and started thinking about the possibility of divorce and actually having a chance to find a man that comes to what I want, I've been pretty horny all the time. I even started watching videos too, but not like that Catholic wife in the thread about the lady addicted to videos. I'm actually like eating food and doing my job. I saw a guy out in public the other day and I had a "I want to rip your clothes off right here in front of everybody" sort of feeling. Well, I interacted with him, but it was part of my job and nothing inappropriate. I had fun. I enjoyed myself. I was actually glad that my husband enjoyed himself. I was actually thinking of being with him and not fantasizing about some other guy, real or imaginary. Normally I'm always very concerned about my own orgasm, but I wasn't this time. I was just along for the ride, but I wasn't faking any of it. We had a really good day together. If every single day could be like this, then I'd be pretty happy. I did a few positive things for myself that I've been putting off. We did a house project together and didn't argue about it. He offered to help, which he never ever does. He also did an outside chore, a thing he never does, without being asked, and that was all before the bonding even happened. He said a genuine thank you to me after I made lunch. Yes, these are all really mundane things, but they aren't things that normally happen in our house. I really like him today. If he could just be this way all the time, I actually would be more attracted to him. It's nothing about him physically, it's the non-physical things that I find very unattractive. I didn't have much of a desire when I first started initiating more often, but it's like the more and more we did it, the less averse I felt toward it. I would say I definitely don't currently have a bonding is gross sort of feeling. We've had a few bumps where it just didn't work for me and I couldn't get into it, probably because I was just trying to force it too much in those moments. But for the most part I have enjoyed each time. I mean, do I feel like wow, bonding is the most amazing thing ever? No way, I do not. But I also haven't had any this is a big waste of time, I'd rather be doing something else thoughts either. I haven't thought about how ridiculous I look and sound during a good time for the last several weeks either. This isn't even the first time I've told him I wanted a divorce, but it's the time where it felt most real. We've been on the verge of divorce probably 5 to 6 times. In the past I've said it in the heat of the moment, but that wasn't the case this time. It felt different and real this time. Before, I'd just say it when I was really mad. This time it was something I had been thinking about for quite a bit of time beforehand. Granted, the next day he told me threatening divorce had lost a lot of its effect and that I just needed to figure out what I really wanted to do. For some reason, if I scream or yell, he gets triggered and his instant reaction is to get mad. His face is filled with rage in these moments, and whack me or shove me or both. There isn't a conscious thought that crosses his mind, I don't think, other than pure rage, and I think there's some sort of strange defense panic mode that happens too, but he's not consciously thinking I'm going to punch her real hard in the arm so she shuts up. It happens almost instantaneously. He's very quick to anger like that in those situations. He can't regulate his emotions well. It's like an immediate emotional response without any thought process involved. These are the only times when he does this. He doesn't randomly just come up and punch me because he feels like knocking me around. It's only in these types of high-stress situations, and it happens very quickly, like with no build-up to it at all. Here are some people on the spectrum that have tantrums. They are almost non-functional. It's obvious just by looking at them that they're off. And some are just randomly violent to themselves or to others, sometimes almost seeming as if they just have physical tics and can't control hitting themselves over and over. That's not my husband. His spectrum disorder is relatively mild in comparison. I personally don't really think that his reaction to hit me has much to do with that disorder at all. I think it may be related to other mental health issues, especially the PTSD, but I don't think he's just some spastic person with autism lashing out uncontrollably. Afterwards, he proceeded to just complain about everything I do wrong. I'm apparently a puss and an airhead because I accidentally bumped into him and caused him to spill some coffee. I didn't see that he was standing right behind me. So, some coffee spilled on the tiled kitchen floor. It's normally something that I just laugh about and say sorry and clean it up, but he was so mad. His face was filled with rage again, but he just verbally went after me that time. Then later he was mad that I didn't really want to talk to him when he wanted to apologize. He goes, well, I guess good days are just followed by bad days. I don't yell and scream at him, but yes, you'd think by now I'd learn to not do it even in certain situations where it may just be a natural reaction. Did you read my posts? Yesterday he was standing at the door and it was open. I was outside in our backyard. He was in the doorway of our house with the door open. I saw a flash of a small wild animal like a squirrel or a chipmunk or something. Never saw exactly what it was because it happened so fast, running right toward the door because one of my dogs was chasing it and steering it right into the house. I yelled out, shut the door. We have several pets and I didn't want a wild animal getting into the house. He was just standing there with the door open, not paying attention. And sure enough, whatever it was ran up, scattered up the screen and onto the roof of our porch, then into a tree. It would have come straight through the door. So yes, I didn't think and just yelled out in a panic. Time before that was when we were almost hit head on by somebody who had to have been drunk and speeding down the street. I couldn't control that. I yelled at, oh my God. And they missed us probably by 5 inches and then ran into a ditch. All of the other times have been similar. I do not just go around yelling and screaming at him. I've actually had a lot of therapy. I come from an extremely dysfunctional family. A therapist won't really help with what I need right now. A personal trainer and figuring out my new higher earning career path and taking action on starting with that will do far more for my mental health than another round with a therapist right now. Those are the things bothering me and hindering me the most. I hate the way I look and I have no money and hate my job. I am making a choice right now. To me, being on my own and having to work 2 crappy jobs that make me miserable just to stay afloat is worse than my current situation. I'm going to work on making myself look super attractive. This sounds shallow, but I've really neglected myself. Stopped working out completely, stopped taking care of my skin, stopped wearing makeup, haven't had a professional haircut in 2 years, gained 25 pounds. It makes me hate myself. When I look good, I feel good and am confident. Right now, I just spend most of my time hiding because I hate the way I look, so I have no confidence. So that's step 1. I'm going to figure out a new career because there's nowhere to go in my current line of work and I hate my line of work and never meant to be in this career field. I need money, plain and simple. I actually have a degree in psychology. I don't work in that field though and have no interest to. I've started a number of master's degrees programs but never finished because I have no interest. Anyway, I got frustrated. I'm not patient. I wanted to be able to leave right away. I legally cannot and financially I cannot. I felt a bit hopeless for a few days. I am extremely emotional. I have emotional issues, it's true. It makes my reactions intense. Anyway, I'm going to try to figure out how to file for legal separation without any money to afford a lawyer's help right now. Once I'm officially separated, then I'm free to sleep with somebody if I finally meet a man who really makes me feel good before a full year is up. My comment: the only reason YOP is not divorcing him is because of his income. Sometimes it is sad to realize a lot of relationships continue because of money issues. An ideal relationship is where both parties like each other, and apparently, that is a lot to ask out of people these days.